For today's orientation session for all students and faculty of, of Institute by Innovation Ambassador. I welcome today's speaker, Professor Prashant Madhavan sir from Department of Computer Science and Engineering. He is an also Innovation Ambassador who had took a training under MHRD. In today's session, he will be discussing about design thinking, which is a great focus for all the startups. Without taking much time, I hand over the mic to Sir and discuss on a design thinking. Welcome, Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Om Saraswate Vidmahe Brahmaputraye Dhimahi Tanno Devi Prachodayat. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Jaram Karishami Siddhirbhavtu Mesida. Taking blessings from Goddesses Saraswati. I am fortunate to be part of Institute's Innovation Council, and I am fortunate to be part of MHRD's training on entrepreneurship and startup and many domains which have been selected by MHRD. They are aggressively and training the ambassadors to get versed with the individual domains and impart that knowledge to the students and faculties of their respective institutes. MHRD has actually considered three main domains which will create the entrepreneurship and startup or innovation culture in the institutes. Mainly, they concentrate on entrepreneurship and startup. That is one domain. Another important domain is design thinking and innovation. And third one is intellectual property rights. These are the three main domain skills which they have identified. The one of the main important domain which can actually accelerate the entrepreneurship and as well as the startup activities in the institute is design thinking and innovation. From many years, maybe from many aspects, the design thinking and innovations are happening, but the traditional framework which was employed for innovation was from many perspectives. Namely, it would be from business perspective, or it would be providing services, it would be to develop the products, maybe etc. From many perspectives, that innovations were happening, but those innovations were from the perspective of business or not from the customer-oriented perspective or from the user perspective. The innovation was not. So because of that, now in 21st century, all innovations meant for the customers or users or consumers, from their perspective, from their needs, the innovation should take place. The creativity should be used for solving their problems. So that is the main motto behind this framework. Today in this session, I will be concentrating on design thinking for innovation, and the process which is employed for design thinking, which will lead to the framework for design thinking and innovation, and the process which is employed for the same, and benefits for design thinking and innovation. Students, can you name one of the greatest innovations of all time? Please unmute and speak. Can you name any one innovations which actually made resolutions into the life of human beings or in any field? Any guesses? There are many innovations. Can you name one of them? Uh, if we take in our daily life, we use many such greatest innovations which have changed, which have actually impacted our way in which we live, which have impacted our life, how to lead the life, right? So how to actually we do our task or do our work. Right? So in such, one of the greatest innovation is, if we could consider in daily, the way in which we are communicating, or how we communicate, how we interact, or how we travel. In the earlier days, only the mode was only to walk, right? In good old days, we used to only walk to travel from one place to another place. So, which innovation has led the transformations? So, wheel is one such greatest innovation. Is it the best invention for making the pots? So the user needs will decide the inventions. The needs of users or consumers, the need of the time, need of the hour will decide the innovations. Necessity is the mother of invention. So here, potters also use wheel for making the pots, right? So whether the product or service which is planned for development is viable, is desirable, or feasible. From these all three main perspectives, the innovation has to be verified or validated. Viability is the capacity to work and survive, which will decide whether the product or the service is going to provide the expected services or not, expected requirements will be met or not, whether it is going to survive or not. So desirability is the capacity to generate the demand. Is it going to meet the expectation of the user or not? So actually the needs of the user should be met when we produce or when we develop the products or services. Not it is going to meet the business needs or the business goals. It has to meet the user. Whereas the feasibility is the capacity to do it conveniently, to develop or to provide the services. All the existing tools and technologies has to be adopted within the constraints which are there with the facilities or the with empathy, which means withholding judgment, without any judgment, not imparting preconceived notions of what the consumers needs. Observing with empathy is powerful because it can uncover issues the consumers did not even know they had, or they could not themselves.
He also needs to check whether it will be stable or not.
Okay, very good. I think he needs to verify whether is it possible to keep that box on the top. Okay, very good. Then, so just by observing these images, we could able to identify the needs of that kit, right? So, but when we interact with the user, his needs may be different from what we have observed. We need to thoroughly see the problem from through his eyes. As sir identified, he may need the ladder, right, to keep that box on the top. He may not reach to the top, right? Maybe we do, from other perspective, if we think maybe his parents are busy with some work. Actually, he need attention of his parents. He want to do just he actually because of to attract their attention. He's doing he actually doing this task. Maybe from lot of perspective, we may identify many needs of that kid or many needs of the consumers. But when we actually put ourselves in their shoes, we will get to know the problems. We get to know the actual needs of the user. Once we identify their needs, we need to actually when we need to use verbs instead of nouns. Sir told actually ladder. Instead of using ladder, we should have specified that kids want to reach the top. Actually, one of the student has identified that he wants to reach the top. He wants to keep the box on the top. Somebody told that he wants to check whether it will be stable when after keeping that box on the top or not. So there are many measures there are many problems the kid is facing. From his, we need to analyze those needs, then identify the insights. We need to come up with all the insights from his perspective. Then we need to define those insights. For this process, we need all the focus. We need to focus on the requirements or the information which we have gathered from the first step. So, with all those empathy, we have collected the information. We need to actually define, look for opportunities, not for opportunities, means of going the user is facing. Then we will get a whole bunch of problems which the user is facing, we are facing. Then with those all insights, we need to go for the next step. Then the third step is ideate. This is a very important step in design thinking. We need to collaborate. We need to identify the experts from various domains. Maybe it could be from, if we consider our engineering branches itself, it could be mechanical, it could be automobile, it could be electronics, it could be computer science, it could be biotech. From all the branches, from all the domains, we need the people from each and every domain and experts in those domains. Then Try to float these all insights which you have obtained from the user needs. Then each user is going to give their solutions. Try to brainstorm all the teammates, all the team or the participants will give their opinions, give their solutions. Try to collect those solutions. Don't judge those solutions. Just this ideate process meant for only collecting the solutions, not judging the solutions. Do not practice doing two activities at the same time. Don't select the solutions while brainstorming. Try to brainstorm the solutions. Try to collect all the solutions from